very
Like, so I heard
in the
this really,
flesh.
I heard like
Yeah, go
one
ahead.
really interesting idea for the idea of like fashion, especially with certain environments. And I think it was when I was talking to Bones Brigante, and it had to do with the idea that in an environment where wealth distribution doesn't allow you to acquire wealth, fashion is all you got, and it became
Okay,
like a huge
that's a
part of.
glass
I
glass
was
half full way of looking at it. But let me flip it for you in the in maybe the people of color community. Is also the negative piece is that when we don't have money or we don't have wealth, but we're going to make it look like we do, right? We're going
Mm,
to look like we're as fly as possible. I remember when the Lincoln Navigator was the big truck. This is like late 90s. And I remember dudes living in the P's and got a fucking Lincoln Navigator. Like he's living in the projects and got a Lincoln Navigator. Like his car is worth more than his rent for like a year. You know what I'm saying? Like we have our priorities mixed up sometimes in our community. Is that before we'll buy a house, we'll buy a Ferrari. You know what I'm saying? Before we'll put away money for our child's college tuition, we'll buy them a fucking like diamond pacifier. You know what I'm saying? So you could also argue that we spend money improperly. But again, that's not where I want to go. What I want to go is my particular drip is around the Polo, Ralph Lauren, or Ralph Lauren shit, right? And that's something that's unique to me. I talk about it in my song on my album. I talk about it on the song called Sauce It Up.
yeah.
But in essence, the science behind polo for me is very unique. I'm not rocking polo to be on some like I'm shitting on y'all because I have polo. Because if we keep it a buck, polo is not the super high level brand. It's not Louis, it's not Gucci. It doesn't cost like to that level. It's not Prada, right? But for me, it's because in the era when I grew up, I watched the low lives in Brooklyn literally go rob stores of polo. You know what I'm saying? They were jacking polo, they stealing it, and they boosting throughout the world. And frankly, it was to me, it was almost like taking this very like shiny thing and stealing it back and making it ours, right? The
Mm,
polo ads you see look very prestigious with old white guys riding horses on a 75,000 acre lawn, right? But we're stealing that same hoodie and wearing it to Barclays Center, burning a L. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like the idea of kind of the reverse gentrification of the polo shit. That's what I call it. Y'all think it's this high end like brand for people who play polo. I'm using it as a brand for people who make beats and put L's up and make music. You know what I
you
mean?
know what's crazy
Zoo.
about
Do
you saying that? Because
you
like
want
in
to
my,
elaborate on the low lives because nobody's ever talked about the low lives on the show before.
I don't know what the low lives are.
Okay, so Polo, as you see, is the brand, and they took the last two letters, right, the low, and called themselves the Low Lives, and it's a group of people out of Brooklyn. Some so they would literally boost from stores, and boosting is the word for shoplifting, right? So they would do it in a very unique way, though, in that you would see teams of dudes like going like 12, 15, 20 deep, and they would go to a store in the middle of Midtown Manhattan like a Macy's. And this wasn't the very discreet like I'm going to go in and try to slip some socks into my pocketbook and sneak out. This was like 20 dudes running in and literally racking, you know, because they're taking a whole rack of clothing and they're running out of the store with it. And their idea was kind of like, you're not going to catch us all, right? And frankly, we're going to grab so many items that even if we drop 6 items, we still going to leave with 20 some odd items. And number one, they would rock it a lot of times. And number two, they go back to the hood and they sell it. So it became this movement, you know, and it's famous, known, some of the famous low lives, of course, are Thurston Howell the third and Rack Low and Sun Low, and I mean, there's so many dudes out there. I don't want to discredit them, but frankly, the low lives is a real powerful movement. And that's what attracted me to polo. You're going to hear about this actually tomorrow. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. There's a show. We're calling it EO Low, and it's taking place at 7 p.m. and it's hosted by my man Olivier, also known as the Dubcavist. He's going to be hosting a show on Sunday night at 7 p.m. Tomorrow night is the 10th, right? So January 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be about polo and like our love and admiration for it. And a lot of what I just shared is what turned me on to it so much. So I'm not stunting like Gucci belt, Prada this. I'm a low head, you know what I'm saying? And I'm it is like a religion,
Yeah,
and I like to
what's
get fresh with it.
super
By the
interesting
way,
about
guys, there's a documentary that you can all check out called Very Ralph on HBO. So if you have HBO Max, you can check it out. And in that documentary, Thurston Howell III is featured
Yep.
because Ralph Lauren requested him personally. You know what I mean? And that goes to show you the impact that the low lives had on the brand of Ralph Lauren
That's a
Polo.
fact. The picture with Thurston Howell and Ralph is like the grail, the holy grail picture. But this book too, yo. This is a book that Thurston put out. This shit is called Bury Me with the Low On. This
yo.
book is insane. It captures mad people's collections. Elder Sensei's in here, Just Blaze is in here, Thurston Howell's in here, of course. It chronicles like the history of the low lives, and it's people's collections in here. Dallas Penn is in here. Dallas Penn is the guy that Vanguard bought the coat off of to give me recently, yo. So for everybody who know that Van got me a polo coat for Christmas, he bought it off of Dallas Penn, who's
Wow.
featured in this book. So many connections.